Hey, boo. I was listening to some of the podcasts, but I had to stop so I can come on my live. So I'll be finishing it once I'm done with this, as I'm driving home. So yeah. But so far, so good. You know, I'm a big fan of Miss Joanna, so yes, I love it. Yes. That is funny. Well, I thank you for being the first person on. I need to start doing some giveaways for people that like hop on to be the first to hop on or something. I need to do something with it though. It is getting pretty long. I need it tightened too. Yeah. So I'm gonna try and see if one more person hop on. If not, we gonna go forward with the word. So, try and give people some time. So we're going to give it one more minute, and then we're going to proceed forth. And I know there were times that you probably shouldn't, but I thank you always loving me. And I know anyone else they probably wouldn't, but I thank you always loving me. Now I know there are days I look at myself, I felt like less of a person compared to everyone else. What about this? Hi. Too small, can I exchange? And trying to make up for what I fell short, I let some slip away. But when I look in the mirror and the light. Okay, so I'm going to get started because I don't want to keep you long. So as you know, I'm talking about how to step out of fear. And now this is nothing that I would say like I'm an expert at, although I do help people on a daily basis overcome those things that are fearful or anxious, and I have to overcome those things every day. So yeah, so I'm going to start off with giving you guys the definition of fear for those of you who don't actually know what that actual definition is. And so fear is an unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat.
How crazy is that, right? So when we are in that fear mode, we are automatically assuming that either that thing or that person will cause some kind of danger or pain to us. And so what happens when we are fearful? We become anxious, we're worried, we have the negative self-talk going on, the doubts, and I'll talk more about how to break negative thinking next week, so I don't want to kind of go too far into that. We become avoidant. So we avoid those situations which are similar to those things that we are fearful of. And it can also turn into a phobia. And we know a phobia is something that keep people held up in their anxiety from either going to an event or talking to different people, because there's different kinds of phobias that can come from it. What does your body feel like when you are fear or you are anxious or worried? So it may involve those panic attacks. Because again, if we allow fear to control our lives and we don't conquer it or get support in it, it can overtake our lives and cause those what we would call mental health concerns. And so it'll be the panic attack. So you're feeling a loss of breath, you're feeling dizziness, either you're frozen in the spots, your muscles get really tensed up, you feel like your mind is going blank, or your stomach starts to churn. But keep in mind, some things may not be a big fear thing. So like for some people, speaking in front of an audience, taking a test, things like that. Those are maybe on the smaller scale of fear, anxiety producing type of things. So when we walk in fear, we are crippling ourselves the opportunity to be who we are destined and created to be. And so I want to share an example, my story, for me, just in terms of doing these lives. And this was something I definitely had to overcome with my own fear, because I had that negative self-talk in my head, like, oh my gosh, am I going to know what I'm talking about? Are people really going to tune in to listen to what I have to say? And I really had to reframe some of that to be like, what I have to say is valuable. And it's something that I live with and I battle with myself. So I can definitely share with people how I overcome my own fear, as well as I literally help people daily overcome fear of different things, fear of having conversations with people, fear of going to certain places, fear of them being great. Because I think we often talk about, right, the fear of the unknown, the fear of what if this goes wrong, but we rarely talk about the fear of what if this goes right? What if this blow up beyond measure than what I could ever do? And so I want us to have more of those conversations. And, fear doesn't always have to be more on that negative end of things not going well. It can be, what if this really does go well? How am I going to maintain all of that? So one of the ways to walk out of fear, I think, is for us to change the narrative. So we change the narrative by, number one, looking at it more as curiosity. And to give you guys the definition of curiosity is a strong desire to know or learn something. And so just think about that. When we can reframe that fear, we can actually learn from it and grow from it, right? To be our great selves that we're destined and called to be. And so a few questions I want to give you guys to just kind of ask yourself, when you are in those fearful type situations or have anxiety about certain things. And then what I can do after is I can kind of type them up and then load them up and send them to you guys if you want as well. So some questions to ask yourself is, what am I actually afraid of? Do I feel like I can handle the outcome? Do I feel that I can handle the process? Do I feel confident in my abilities to perform? Is my self-worth attached to this? So am I attaching my self-worth to this being successful or not? Can I do research to feel more knowledgeable? So whether that's you Googling, reading, doing a webinar, taking a class, are you scared that you might make a mistake? Are you taking on someone else's fear because of what they've told you? When was the last time you felt this fear? And will you be able to handle the situation differently than the last time? And also thinking about who's attached to the other side of your fear. So again, for me, if I continue to walk in fear, those individuals who don't come to me for therapy or individual services or group services, the things I have to say, they won't ever get. And not to say that they won't ever get it from somebody else, but maybe the time I was supposed to go live and I didn't, that created somebody staying in that fear or that anxiety a little longer than what they needed to be. And if you don't do it, then who will? I know that's so cliche to say, but I think it's something we need to remind ourselves on a day-to-day basis. If you don't do that, who will do it? Number 2, have an accountability partner. So someone you can share your fears with so they can reel you back in. Because I think many of the times we can get so caught up in the emotions of the fear and the anxiety that we don't take the time out to really flush it out and see it for what it is, but to have that other person. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a licensed therapist. It can be your friend, your family member, whoever that you trust that can reel you back in. I know my sister friends are really great with me sharing what my fears are, and they definitely help reel me back in to be like, okay, Key, that it may not work, but you won't know unless you actually do it. And then when you do it, then take it back and learn from it. Number 3, believe in you and your abilities God has given you. And again, I feel like that may sound so cliche because you might be like, Lakeisha, I already know that. But sometimes we forget that because we allow our fear to overshadow us. Because remember, fear, it activates in our brain as a stress response. So it's triggering our brain to feel stressed and overwhelmed. And when we're stressed and overwhelmed, we can't think clearly. And so we need to be able to believe in ourselves so we can have those self-defeating thoughts put to the side. And many of you, and just do it. Like Nike say, just do it. I mean, because if you stay wrapped up in the fear, you won't ever be who you're called to be. And your message won't ever get out to who you are to minister to. So whether it's your own children, your own family, your coworkers, strangers, just do it. And for parents, so anybody that knows me, I know I'm big on modeling because I'm a mother, and so I always have to be conscious of what I'm putting out for my kids. And if my kids see me always operating in fear, what do you think that does? That allows them to have the green light to say, it's okay for me to operate in fear too, for my message to go null and void, for my destiny and my purpose not to be complete because I'm afraid. And for us as parents, we have to remember that we aren't only discounting the message for others to hear, but what our kids see us when we are walking in that fear. Again, we're giving them the green light to say it's okay to be afraid and to stay in fear and not to walk out of that fear. Pastor John Gray said something really great about fear. He was like, he's not going to elevate, face your fears. He's like, because when you're facing your fears, that means you're saying your fear is right there at your level. But he was like, no, my fear is below me. So I'm bigger than my fears. I have to overcome that. And so I just love when I heard him say that. And so, and another story for me, aside from like doing more like lives for people on Instagram and Facebook lives, that's what I'm talking about. Another one of my fear was when I first started like my private practice and podcasting and all of that, and just being an advocate for mental wellness for people, and especially amongst the minority community. My first mindset was like, man, people ain't gonna want to hear what I got to say, because nobody, especially amongst the minority community, want to talk about mental wellness, mental health, therapy, things like that, because of the shame and fear that's surrounded by it. But I'm like, in order for us to be great, we have to move past that fear and really understand what is it that we're afraid of when we're talking about mental health and therapy and counseling. And so it took for me, last year I created a No Fear campaign, again, out of the fear that I saw in the minority community, about the shame and fear surrounded about talking about just anything mental health, and my fear just stepping out and being more public and open with helping to heal our community in terms of talking about those things so we can be our best selves to live our best life. And so, if you guys scroll down in my Instagram profile on my The Evolving Chair page and my other page, my personal page, L Russell 13, you'll see some dope people that were able to share what no fear meant to them and what they're stepping out of fear on. And I would love to have you guys a part of that if you're interested. To send me a video about what no fear means to you and what you're stepping out of fear on. So for me, I'm stepping out of fear on being afraid of just having conversations with people, more live conversations, and just doing more lives and speaking on Instagram and Facebook and not pre-recording it and then posting it, but to do more lives that way. Yeah, so that is what I'm stepping out of fear on. So I would love to hear what some of you guys are, those of you who are on, to hear what you guys have to say, what you're stepping out of fear on. Oh, yeah. Because I think we do get caught up in the fear and how we are perceived, right? And so again, that ties back to that self-worth piece. So yeah, we just got to really carve out why the need to attach your self-worth to this thing that has us having fear and anxiety. Yep, and we got to always look at the positives of things, for sure. And it's so easy to do, to just focus on the negative things, especially when we're in fear, because again, like I said, fear produces the anxiety and the worry, and those produces those stress hormones that are released to our brains. And so our brain, that part of our brain that usually is thinking rationally and clearly, is shut down when we're feeling stressed and overwhelmed. So yeah. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so I would love to hear if anybody what you guys are stepping out of fear on before I hop off. Let's see. I'm stepping out of fear on our upcoming event. Sometimes it's best to break things up into less scary or fearful stuff. That is so true. That is so true. And congratulations too for the upcoming event. I'm excited. I'm definitely excited for you guys. Yep, and to break things up too, so it doesn't seem as scary. That's for sure. Let's see. Anybody else want to share what they're stepping out of fear on? Yeah, one step at a time. You're welcome. Well, if no one else, I thank you guys for taking the time out and just watching and learning how to overcome your fears and anxiety. And of course, if it becomes to where it's the point that you aren't able to do anything because of the fears and anxiety, I highly suggest reaching out to a licensed therapist for that support to help you overcome those fears and anxieties and help decrease those things. So connect with me on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, The Evolving Chair, and send me a DM and let me know how did you like this and how it could have been better. And I hope you guys join me next week for next week's Mindful Monday, because I will definitely be talking about how to battle negative thinking. And don't forget, I have a podcast, The Evolving Chair Podcast. You're welcome. And that can be found on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play, anywhere you stream your podcast. So yes, I thank you guys so much. You guys have a great night.